Hello everyone, I am a termite inspector here in Southern California, and I wanted to share two inspections I did in a home and in an apartment complex. Now, this time of year, which is the end of March, is the end of swarmers here in Southern California. We deal with the eastern subterranean termite and drywood termites year round. However, homeowners typically don't see them until they send out these flying termites, which are known as reproductives, alates. And so the goal that these termites that are flying out is to begin new colonies. These are new kings and queens that are flying out. So they made it into this customer's bedroom, and I verified it was an eastern subterranean termite. And unlike their drywood termite cousins, they do not live in the wood. Their colony is underground. So I entered this crawl space, and this is what I found. Against that foundation wall was a piece of a block of wood that I turned over, and this shelter tube, which termites use for transportation against predators to keep their moisture, because subterranean termites require moisture to stay alive. And as you can see, the worker termites, which most people rarely get to see, are active in the wood, in the soil, and in this shelter tube that I removed to verify or to see if it was active. I could see discarded wings from the reproductives, and this is a main reason why you don't want to allow anyone who's doing construction or repair work to leave debris of any wood type in your sub area. It's food for these subterranean termites. That includes the most obvious wood. I tend to see cardboard under homes a lot. Maybe someone who went down there. Could be the homeowner or a plumber or someone else, a cable person, doesn't have a coverall, and they use the cardboard to move around down there. Here you can see soldier ants, which also stand out because they're not one color like the workers. They're mostly that light cream color, but they have the enlarged head, which is a lighter, or which is kind of a light orangish. And you can see there the mandibles are darker red, darker orange. But the majority of what's there are the worker termites. And as you can see, they were doing a number on the wood, which they're eating and taking back to their colony. So once I find that, now I go south away from that wall to see what other activity I find. And another common one that we find is this. As you can see, there's a really long shelter tube that is connected from the floor, the subfloor of the home, all the way down to the soil. There's a branch that made it down there. So really in your crawl space, all you should have is dry dirt and the wood, and that's it. There shouldn't be any other debris of any kind. Many times I do find construction debris like PVC piping, broken up concrete. But again, what really causes harm is the wood, which again, you're just ringing the dinner bell for subterranean termites if conditions are right. I scraped this off, didn't see any activity. And also we are required that once we see a shelter tube on wood to automatically classify that wood as damaged. Here's another close-up, different angles of the shelter tubes I found, along with spider webs. This particular crawl space had a lot of spider webs, and you can see they may have had an attempt also, several attempts, to get these shelter tubes going from the subfloor all the way down to the soil. Which, you think about it, makes sense, right? Because the food, the subfloor, is right there, and you really want a quick way to get that food back down to your colony, to the queen, back to the larvae, back to the soldier ants. So what a better way than to build the shelter tube all the way to the soil, if you can make it, which they did, and now you have a direct route, so you don't have to go who knows where else they'd found a way to get down to the soil. So at this point, again, I'm getting ready to probe this shelter tube here, and I do knock it down, and there is evidence, or you do see the subterranean worker termites, and alates. I didn't see any soldier termites in these tubes, but this is more than likely, if not the main area, but one of the main areas where they were getting from the soil underground where the colony is to her bedroom. Because again, once I knock it down, the reproductive termites could be seen crawling out of the damaged shelter tube that I have there. So this one that I'm scraping off, the smaller one, there wasn't any activity, there weren't any termites in there, but you can see how little bit of damage there is from the termites. That wasn't my ice pick doing that. It was the tube, which is why it's the wood, once it has a tube, you classify it as damaged. Of course, it's not to the point where you need to replace it, and you explain that to someone, but here I am probing, trying to see if there's anything in there, and sure enough, besides the spider webs in front of me, you can see the termites with the wings are crawling out of the tubes. And as you notice, they're terrible flyers. This one's on its back, but they're not very good flyers. So in this case, a customer saw them crawling around on her floor. You know, they weren't flying around in her bedroom because they don't fly very well on their own. So they really need a good breeze, I guess, to pick them up and for them to be able to ride that breeze for further range. Otherwise, both these subterraneans and the drywood termites, which come out late summer, early fall, more than likely you wind up seeing them crawling on the floor, outside walls, as opposed to flying, again, unless there's a breeze. This particular tube, as you can see, was wrapped around a PVC pipe. So maybe if there was a leak, they found it and they used that to try and build around because, again, they need moisture. So here's this water source from this PVC pipe, and then they built these tubes around it and they're working their way down. It looks like he turned himself over. But in addition to these subterranean termites, which you'll see, we also look for moisture on the soil. Maybe there's a leak or from flooding from somewhere, again, which is conducive to subterranean termites. Also, there's a fungus that leads to dry rot that grows on wood. So we look out for that as well while we're down there. Being a raised foundation, and you can see I'm poking around here with my ice pick that I use, and as I'm probing this shelter tube that I knocked down, it's amazing. It's maybe smaller than the diameter of a pencil. And you can see here in a moment how many worker termites were crammed in there. We're using this shelter tube to go down underground from the colony up to the wood, and it's just amazing how small they are and how many of them can use this shelter tube, and which is why they're so destructive versus a drywood termite, because their population can be so large because they're not limited by the piece of wood that they're infecting. But my guess is that there was some sort of leak, probably in many areas here in the home. Not recently, because there wasn't any moisture directly underneath where I am. The soil was dry. But at some point there was, because you can see there's like buildup on the pipes. There's a small piece of wood. Anything large enough to rake, you don't want on your soil under your home. Over there you can see there's some cement footings, and I look for that as well to see if subterranean termites started to crawl up the footings, which here they did. Here you're seeing after I scraped off, there was one shelter tube off the footing, which was leading to the base of the pier post, and you can see there's active termite activity there. So as you can see in this case, already there's at least 3 different areas where the termites are actively coming from the soil up to the floor. So you really need to hope that you have a termite inspector that's doing a thorough inspection. This is still the same home. As you can see, here's evidence of fungus damage where it started to eat away the wood. You can see the pipes have buildup. And yeah, this is all caused from moisture from some sort of a leak. And termites, I mean, this is paradise. You've got wood that's wet, that the fungus has started to destroy, makes their job easier. This here is actually a different section of subfloor. And in a moment, you're going to see a third section, a separate section of subfloor. This one, they're already in paradise. You can see their shelter tubes coming out of that moist, damaged wood. Again, they have the best of all worlds there. They've got the wood, they've got the moisture into the wood, which makes it softer, easier for them to get to. And so this would require a different treatment. Once we get the termites eradicated or treated, now you have to treat for the fungus so that it doesn't eat away your floor, get worse. So that's something else that we look at. Now this is an inspection I did at an apartment unit here in Santa Monica. It's a small apartment complex, and I visited the laundry room. I found subterranean termite activity prior to this in one of the carports, and as I was continuing my inspection, this is what I found. From a distance, it almost looked like maybe it was lint, from a dryer that had accumulated on the wall. But upon closer inspection, I did confirm that it was shelter tubes. You saw how small the subterranean termites are. They're very small. Excuse me. So they don't need very large openings in walls to find a way to poke through and start building, these exploratory tubes to see if they lead anywhere to wood. And so in these two different walls, I mean, just so you can see the quantity of the shelter tubes. And so in a moment here, I did wind up probing these. Excuse me. While I was doing this inspection, especially because of the coronavirus, typically when I'm walking outside in an area, I don't have my respirator on. But because of we're still dealing with the pandemic here and lockdown, safer at home and physical distancing, I was wearing gloves and a respirator. I had just come out of a basement, or not a basement, a crawl space here. So I put the phone down there to get a better grip. And you can kind of see the dirt they're flying as I'm kind of scraping away some of the the shelter tube, and there was no active termites there. And you can even see the bottom there, towards the bottom of the floor. It's broken up. I didn't break that. This is another area where there were the tubes poking out. This is actually plywood. Someone put plywood on a carport wall, painted it white. And so I saw these shelter tubes, and here is the aftermath. And again, sorry, I held the phone the wrong way here. And the shelter tube, as soon as I removed it from the plywood, you saw that alate came out. There was another area right next to it that I'm scraping the shelter tube off, and you can see the damage they've eaten through the plywood. And as you can see, within a few seconds, a subterranean alate comes out. So I hope you found this fascinating. I've only been doing this a short time, but I myself still find it fascinating. Where most inspectors who've done it longer probably don't find it fascinating anymore. They just get on with their inspections. But I hope you found it useful. If you see subterranean termites in your home and you get an inspection and they're confirmed, treat them, please. They're extremely destructive. I'm always flabbergasted when people don't take care of termites, either drywood or subterranean termites. But again, I hope you found it useful. Hopefully you've never had to deal with subterranean termites in your home. And if I come across any other interesting inspections and finds, I'll be sure to post them. I'll see you soon.